so scorching, officials saying it could get too hot to actually fly in an airplane. Sam, up in Central Park for everything this morning, but you're also there tracking this heat emergency. Sam, this sounds brutal.
It really is, Josh. Good morning, everybody. And as folks are out now that we start the summer season, they're out at festivals, they're out on vacation, and they're out working around in this heat. And from the steamy heat on the East Coast to the searing, record-breaking, incredible heat on the West, the nation's got to deal with this very early this summer. Take a look at the dome, some will call it, over the next couple of days, a heat dome. That's because that area of high pressure holds that heat, cooks that heat, builds it, and it will allow it to spread a little bit to the north and a little bit to the east as well. Las Vegas at 111, Death Valley at 127 degrees. Now, some of these temperatures, by the way, like Las Vegas at 116, threatening the all-time record temperature there of 117 in that area. Now, you can see the heat warnings in 4 states, and our extreme team is out covering the heat all morning long. Ginger Z is right on the strip this morning in the middle of that dangerous baking summertime heat. Good morning, Ginger.
Hey, Sam, we know this place as being hot when it comes to nightlife, but at this hour, it's true to form and hot when it comes to temperature. 90 already, and we're heading to close to 116. This goes beyond record-breaking to dangerous and even deadly.
Weekend temperatures are expected to approach an astonishing 120 degrees, buckling boulevards in Lubbock, baking playgrounds in Denver, and in Kansas, downright dangerous with heat stroke.
I just felt like I was going to throw up. You get too hot, you start getting dizzy, lightheaded.
In Phoenix, expected to top out at 119, zookeepers are cooling tigers with frozen fishsicles. And in Los Angeles, warnings of the worst.
We could see temperatures at least very close to the hottest temperatures ever recorded on Earth.
Highest heat ever.
When a surface goes above 151 degrees, it can burn your skin almost instantly. The asphalt, almost 160. This metal here is at 150. This car handle, 151 degrees.
You want to be really careful. You certainly don't want to go out there barefoot.
Not barefoot and not outside at all. Officials urging everyone in these zones to stay inside in air conditioning until this heat wave has passed.
22 states right now are under heat watches and warnings on what could be the hottest day of the year, and that is today. Our entire extreme team is covering this. Let's start with Sam Champion in Central Park right now with the very latest. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning, Elizabeth. Good morning, Josh. Day 6 of this heat wave that basically really does stretch all the way from coast to coast. But there's one part of the country that's getting the worst hit of it. There is about 438 miles from Washington, D.C. to Boston that has excessive heat warnings out today. That's the highest level of warning the National Weather Service will put out for hot air. And take a look at the heat index levels that are already out in the morning. It feels like 89 in New York. Boston, it feels like 89 degrees. Now, that is your average high temperature for summer right beside it in the green, the areas that were 82 to 84 degrees. That lets you know that this is not normal summertime heat. And take a look at these heat index forecasts. 107 in New York, 102 in Boston. The real temperature in Boston will be 100 degrees today. It has never been warmer than 104. This is serious heat.
Extensive power outages from Baltimore to the Bronx. And on Staten Island, more than 3,000 homes and businesses now without power as the temperature there rises close to 100 degrees. Even at night, New Yorkers are seeing little relief with temperatures holding strong in the 90s. It's so hot, Amtrak has issued mandatory speed restrictions between Boston and Washington for fear the tracks may flex and buckle in the heat.
The big problem is the jet stream. It's riding way to the north, and that's creating a bubble of hot air over the mid-Atlantic and also a large part of the Northeast and parts of the Midwest. And until that moves, not much is going to change. And so for tomorrow, more of the same. We're calling for 95 again in Washington, 97 in Philadelphia. New York City at Central Park is probably going to be around 94 degrees. Now in Texas, it's a totally different story. In fact, we have a cold area of low pressure that's causing cloudy and rainy weather. And today in Dallas, Texas, so far, it has only been 73 degrees. Scott, that's the first time since 1997 we've had a high temperature only in the 70s in Dallas, Texas for the month of July.
You've all seen lots of articles on climate change, and here's yet another New York Times article, just like every other darn one you've seen. It says all the same stuff as all the other ones you've seen. It even has the same kind of headline as all the other ones you've seen. What's unusual about this one maybe is that it's from 1953. And the reason I'm saying this is that you may have the idea this problem is relatively recent, that people have just sort of figured out about it, and now with Kyoto and the governor and people beginning to actually do something, we may be on the road to solution. The fact is, We've known about this problem for 50 years, depending on how you count it, and we have talked about it endlessly over the last decade or so, and we've accomplished close to zip. This is the growth rate of CO2 in the atmosphere. You've seen this in various forms, but maybe you haven't seen this one. What this shows is that the rate of growth of our emissions is accelerating, and it's accelerating even faster than what we thought was the worst case just a few years back. So that red line there was something that a lot of skeptics said the environmentalists only put in the projections to make the projections look as bad as possible, that emissions would never grow as fast as that red line, but in fact they're growing faster. Here's some data from actually just 10 days ago, which shows this year's minimum of the Arctic sea ice, and it's the lowest by far. And the rate at which the Arctic sea ice is going away is a lot quicker than models. So despite all sorts of experts like me flying around the planet and burning jet fuel, and politicians signing treaties, in fact, you could argue the net effect of all this has been negative because it's just consumed a lot of jet fuel. In terms of what we, in terms of what we really need to do to put the brakes on this very high inertial thing, our big economy, we've really hardly started. Really, we're doing this, basically. Really not very much.